We're excited for this week. We've got a really, really strong opponent, coach I have great respect for, and a team that's really playing well. It's playing complementary football that is not making mistakes and is making big plays when they matter. And so I think on all sides of it, I think special teams is going to be our biggest test that we've had so far this year. And I think defensively, so many formations and shifts and varying looks, and it's going to be a great test for us in terms of our eyes, a lot of things that we struggled with just a couple days ago. And then offensively, they do such a great job of limiting big plays and forcing really long drives and disciplined on offense to be able to complete a 60-yard stretch. And so it's going to be a great challenge for us. We're excited about it. Had a good morning this morning, and we're getting guys back. And so I feel some momentum building on our side going into this one. Take any questions that you guys got.
Dave, you referenced it the other day, but the regression in the running game.
Mm-hmm.
Have y'all been able to kind of pinpoint on film what has led to some of that, and just how important is that to get going?
It's very important, yeah. It's the one-on-one blocks. And so I think when we're getting doubles at the point of attack, we get good movement. I think when we're getting movement by them into kind of the teeth of our zones, we're getting good movement. When we're kind of isolated and it's a fan block or a base block and it's one-on-one, we're losing those blocks. And so we've got to do a much better job of that on one end of it. And on the other end, we've got to limit those types of situations from happening. And so I think we got to do both at the same time.
David says in the game notes that Caden is back this week. What about the rest of the people that were missing this past weekend? Is there any updates, I guess, with all of them?
Steve is back. Trig is back. Let's see. Garmin was with us. He was rolling with the ones this morning. And so it's good to have a bunch of guys back.
How much did that affect the defense? I know you said next man up, but how much did you feel like that affected the defense as many of those guys were out?
Well, I think those guys are good players. Now, I think the guys that stepped up played really strong in their absence. I thought that, some of the mistakes and the errors that led to points early in that first quarter and first half were not those guys, And so I thought that really as the game went on, they played better and better and better, and I think we're going to be better for it. And so I think to build depth in those types of situations is kind of a silver lining to it. But I think a lot of those guys on offense and defense that are now returning are our playmakers. And so to have them back, it's good for us.
After back-to-back kind of heartbreaking losses or close losses, I guess what is the mood on the team overall as you go for another undefeated conference team that's ranked?
Frustration, and, urgency, sense of urgency. I think if I had to choose another word, I would say like all in. I'd feel that. I thought that we had a couple guys up in front of the team prior to the start of the meeting, and it was way authentic, way real. I'm proud of them. And I think that, I think the response from the team after and then the practice we had, like I said, we can build some momentum off of this.
Have y'all been surprised at all with the way Sawyer's run the ball?
No, yeah, I'm it's one of those things to where you want him to run it as long as you don't get hit, I think anytime he runs it, there's always that chance that he's going to get hit. But he has a really innate ability to really go to another level and separate when he needs to. I think you saw that on the touchdown run. And so he has that on some of the other reads that he has on the interior. We got to get him better on the perimeter reads when he's reading a defensive end or an edge blitzer. I think there's a couple opportunities that we would like to take back from Saturday that we can improve on. I think in this next one there's going to be more of a linebacker walked out in those C gaps, and so it'll be a little bit of a different read. But Yeah, if we can get him in the whether it's the moving pocket, elongating plays off a 3-man rush, or it's a design QB run, he has the ability to make yards out of those situations.
Al Presley seems to have a pretty good connection with Sawyer.
Mm-hmm.
And he's obviously very emotionally invested in this team.
Mm-hmm.
I guess, how have you seen him bounce back after last year's kind of injury-riddled season, and what does that emotion mean to the group?
It's one of the cool things just about all of this. I think like if you could pause, which you really can't, but if you could pause, just all the frustration and all of the, the wanting this call back and, wanting to do all the things right. And if you could pause all of that just for a second and look at some of the positives, Hal will be one of the top ones, because I think you have a dude that really has matured and has really grown as a leader. He's a galvanizing dude, so that everyone follows Hal, and Hal will call you out, and Hal will call you up. And so we need some more like Hal, and I'm glad he's on our side of it. He's set to have a big year. He already is.
Is there just a good connection between him and Sawyer, and maybe that goes back to even when Sawyer first came in?
Well, I think there's trust, and so I think when Hal's out there, he knows that if it's a 50-50 ball, it ain't going to be that way with Hal. And I think with some other guys, that's still kind of a work in progress. And then I think, just the way that Hal runs that receiver room, and the way that Hal speaks up in offensive huddles and situations, that dog never sleeps. And so when you have an opportunity to see him one-on-one, that's who you go to.
Touching back on the run game and the guys who were unavailable last weekend, what's Campbell Barrington's status?
He's back. Yeah.
Dave, what are the things that Iowa State does well defensively?
I think they want you to. I think that's a whole that philosophy is all ingrained team-wise, where offensively they'll shift emotion and add different fixins and layers to whatever salad they're trying to dress up, and it's going to be a whole bunch of different whole different types of looks they're going to give you, and but in the basis it's the same play, and they get they kind of matriculate the ball down the field doing that. 4 yards here, 3 yards here, 5 yards here. I want to say the team they played last week offensively had like 40-some snaps, 50-some snaps. So they ball control offensively and just eat up clock. And then on the other side of it, defensively, it's kind of the same thing in reverse. They're going to rush 3, they're going to drop everybody back, and they're going to make it so that you have to have the discipline to put a 10-play drive together where you're not forcing a ball, or you're not putting the ball at risk trying to get it forward, or you're not having a holding call or a false start or any of these things. And I think, that whole philosophy has treated them well. And so they kind of choke you out slowly. I think this last game was kind of a tight game until it wasn't. But, that whole style of play is Iowa State style. I'm sure that's not how Houston wants to play that style of football. And so that's going to be our challenge.
Is there a little bit of a us against the world kind of mentality right now? Maybe you do that all the time on the road, but like just with the way the last couple weeks have gone, is it just kind of we've got us and that's it, or?
They feel, I know they for sure are frustrated and angry, and I also know that they know that here's this team that has all this ability, all this promise. We showed something at, I think, the second half, 3 points, 46 yards. I think a lot of those 46 yards was off of the fake that BYU had, right? I think we've had other halves like that. If we put halves and halves together in a complete game, we're not top 30, we're top 10, and all that's. I think they see that that's a possibility. They see that there's glimpses of that, whereas maybe in the past there wasn't. And so I think that drives them and motivates them more than anything, that they know there's something there. But we've got to finish, what we start.
Going along with that, losing back-to-back games for the first time this season, any changes you're going to try to approach to turn it around?
I think, I think the change would be playing 4 quarters of football. I think that would be the start of it. Whether it's we've this past game, we have 2 of our most stalwart guys on defense. Just not read and diagnose and key, basic plays. And so, I take responsibility for that. I have to coach that better. I'm going to change how I'm teaching those things and spend even more time in detail in those things. But that just can't happen. That we cannot have those types of mistakes, You can only pencil with people so far. And so I think the ability to kind of play base and play versus whatever shows is going to be really important this next week, because a lot of the plays that they show are not going to be the plays that we see. They're going to have plays just for us, and we're going to have to take, hey, I looked at these plays, I got a concept of it, I'm going to have to relate that concept in the moment to this play that's happening right in my face, under the lights at whatever time. And so that whole thing's a process. And, we've got guys that can do it, and we've got to hold them accountable to do it.
Dave, I know it's maybe different dynamic for the guys in the building right now, kind of in terms of blocking out the outside noise and focus on task at hand. And we talked in the offseason, y'all did exciting things on the recruiting trail. What's your message to those guys in terms of having them keep the faith, when all they're hearing is outside noise, they're not necessarily in the program yet, and kind of looking past the frustration?
Yeah, I think a lot of them have been at these home games. And so a lot of them were there Saturday morning, So it was great to be able to make connection with them again, and to have them down, on the sidelines and near the team, and get to spend all the time with them. Have been able to talk throughout the season so far with them pretty openly. And I think there's a great belief and there's a great trust in the coaches, in the schemes that are going, and the program. And so, they give us strength in a lot of ways, and so I think it's vice versa for them too. But I think it's, I look at it as one big family in that respect.
You mentioned that all-in mentality that the team kind of has after a rough couple of weeks. Just how encouraging is that for you as a coach to, after the way the last couple of games have gone, to see them kind of band together instead of going in a negative direction? Yeah,
I think, that this first half was tough. I thought, a couple weeks ago, again, not easy. But when you get off to the side, you get guys that just don't want to take it anymore, and there's frustration, not a lot of politeness and everything with it, understandably so. And so just in people's faces, just demanding more, and then you're getting guys responding. And so that's what's cool about it, is that you're getting the emotion, and then you're getting the response. And I think there's getting more and more guys to that front line to fight. And so we're going to need it for this one. I have a lot of respect, again, for this team. And it's going to be a tough fight. We'll be ready for it.
Why was Connor Hawkins taking field goals? It looked like Isaiah was warming up on the sideline there, but was there a reason? We
have to be better at kicking field goals. Yeah, I think, that'd be it.
Dave, you mentioned their special teams. Do they have real good returners? Is that the threat that they have? Or?
Yeah, they do. They've got big bodies, and they're mobile to get enough to get on you, and they can out-physical you at the point of attack, where they can create really strong double teams. And not only do they pressure, but their returns are really strong because they just get bodies on bodies, and they can. They've got some speed back there. They're given an opportunity, they go. There's some receivers on that team that double as returners that if they've given a lane, given a chance, they can take off. Last year, there's a few that went the other way. And so they're a dangerous team. I think they take a lot of pride on that phase of it. And so it's, this last week for us on teams was probably our toughest game, probably the one game that we were below the standard, and so we need to respond in a major way.
What's the status update of DeQuan Finn?
DeQuan's still working through a shoulder injury, and so he was there on the sidelines with us. I think keeping DeQuan, his spirits up and keeping his motivations clear, and it's really the most important thing right now, till we can get that shoulder worked out to where he can fully go out there and throw and put everything he's got into his arm action and his finish. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Dave.